This is the repeated fall of Western civilization, part 2. The second aspect of Rome's collapse that seems pertinent to our situation grows somewhat organically out of the first. Number 2, the Roman state eroded the freedom of citizens. The Roman Empire exhibited a tendency to regiment in the face of trouble or complexity. Such seems slightly odd considering the brevity inherent in both Latin thinking and law. Dr. Grant feels that increasing fear drove the Romans to adopt regimented over legislation. This bred a new culture where corruption increasingly eroded the rule of law, especially among lawyers. Further, law enforcement lost its prior sense of gracious common sense, leading to a zero-tolerance praxis and often savaged the common people. It requires very little insight to recognize that this easily serves the description of modern society. The USA official legal code has in just a few years grown from a manageable list of laws to one that is so extensive it cannot even effectively be printed or bound, let alone fairly implemented. The ultimate lawgivers in America, the U.S. Congress, routinely exempt themselves from laws they pass as binding on all others. Fear forces governments, businesses, and people into poorly thought-through decisions, and this is especially driven by overreactive social media. Of course, the public school system, along with many private ones, brims with freedom-reducing over legislation born of fear. Lenore Skenazy, author of Free-Range Kids, gets to the real problem with the fractured idealism of overprotection. Our kids are safer now than we think. And more competent, too. They deserve a chance to stretch and grow. There's a big disconnect between the horrors on TV and the reality we live in. That is this. The safest time for children in America is in the history of this disease-plagued, famine-prone, war-racked world. Safest time. The Roman state also practiced serious oppression against anyone who didn't share the same religious ideas as the government. This was true of pagan Roman government and was eventually adopted by the Christian emperors as well. Both sides. Likewise, anti-Semitism, a regular part of Roman thought in the West for many years, became widespread part of church practice. History was often revised to fit the Pope's doctrinal desires, and a lack of respect for history led to the restriction of free speech, burning of some pagan books, and removal of some ancient public symbols. The modern juggernaut of anti-religious rage runs rampant in today's Western culture. In 2014, the city of Houston, on the buckle of what is often called America's Bible Belt, actually subpoenaed sermons from pastors who dared oppose the city leaders' views on homosexual marriage. Freedom from religion groups are determined to make people of faith silent and absent from the public arena. The Pelosi Congress decided in 2006 to remove some old Christian symbols from the U.S. Capitol, proving that book burning remains alive and well. Speaking of things that continue beyond the reasonable terminus of the Holocaust, anti-Semitism is on the rise. Many consider it to be more widespread in Europe than ever. The state that abuses freedom of belief sows the seeds of its own ruin. The American founders, fascinated by the Roman Republic, understood this and worked to ensure individual freedoms, especially of speech and religion. They would be horrified at freedom's rapid eradication at this era.